Are you in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, and you just can't think clearly anymore? You walk into a room and completely forget why you're there. You lose your train of thought mid-sentence.
And you're constantly searching for the right word or your car keys or the name of a person you know. And you've blamed it on everything, right? You tell yourself,
A person you know, and you've blamed it on everything, right? You tell yourself,
I'm just tired, it's work stress, I'm a busy parent, or this is just getting older. Maybe it's perimenopause. I know how frustrating and even frightening that feeling can be. But what if that brain fog isn't just fatigue? What if it's a warning sign, a distress signal from your brain that it's struggling with a massive fuel crisis? What if it's a silent sign of diabetes, or more specifically, the precursor to it, insulin resistance? As a doctor, this is one of the most common and most dangerously overlooked complaints I see in my clinic. People describe this cotton wool feeling in their head and this inability to focus and be sharp, and they never connect it to what they ate.
and for breakfast or lunch. In this video, we are going to do a deep dive into the shocking link between your blood sugar and your brain health. I'm going to explain exactly how unstable glucose levels, the spikes, and the crashes are causing debilitating brain fog and neuroinflammation. We're going to talk about a deeply concerning concept known as type 3 diabetes, the scientific name for the link between insulin resistance and Alzheimer's disease. And most importantly, I am going to give you the actionable, science-backed steps to clear that fog. Put out that fire and protect your brain for the long term, starting today.
Your brain on the glucose roller coaster. First, we need to understand why your brain is so uniquely vulnerable to this problem. Your brain is, pound for pound, the most energy-demanding organ in your body. It's only about 2% of your body weight, but it consumes over 20% of your entire energy supply, primarily in the form of glucose. It is a glucose hog. But here's the critical part. Your brain has almost no capacity to store this fuel. Unlike your muscles or liver, which can store big batches of glucose for later, your brain relies on a just-in-time, second-by-second delivery from your bloodstream. It needs a steady, stable, reliable supply of fuel. So, what happens when that fuel supply isn't stable? I want you to think of your brain as a high-performance race car. It's designed to run on a very specific, premium, stable fuel. That's how it performs at its peak. Now, what happens if you fill that car with dirty, inconsistent fuel? It sputters, it stalls, the engine knocks, and it chokes on its own exhaust. That sputtering, that stalling, that is your brain fog. This happens every single day to millions of people who are on what I call the glucose roller coaster. It has two parts, the spike, hyperglycemia, and the crash, hypoglycemia. Let's start with the spike. You eat a modern, standard breakfast. Maybe it's a bowl of healthy oatmeal with brown sugar and raisins, or a muffin, or just a big cup of coffee with a flavored creamer and a piece of toast. These are rapidly digested carbohydrates. They hit your bloodstream as a flood of pure sugar. Your blood glucose spikes dramatically. This flood of sugar is toxic to your entire body, but especially your brain. It's like pouring maple syrup into that high-performance engine. This glucotoxicity triggers two devastating things almost immediately. Oxidative stress. High glucose creates a storm of free radicals. These are like little metabolic grenades bouncing around inside your skull, damaging your brain cells, neurons, your blood vessels, and your cell membranes. Inflammation. Your brain's dedicated immune cells, called microglia, see this high sugar as a threat, an invader. They go on the attack, releasing a flood of inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. This is, quite literally, a fire in your brain. So, about an hour after that high-sugar breakfast, you don't feel sharp and energized. You feel sleepy. You feel groggy, unfocused, and you can't concentrate. That is the inflammatory fog rolling in. But it gets worse. Now comes the crash. In response to that huge sugar spike, your pancreas releases a tidal wave of the hormone insulin to get that toxic sugar out of your blood and into your cells. But if you're on this roller coaster all the time, your body is starting to get numb to insulin, a topic we'll cover in depth in the next section. To compensate, your pancreas overreacts. It pushes out way too much insulin, and your blood sugar doesn't just normalize, it crashes. This is called reactive hypoglycemia. This is the 10:30 a.m. or 3 hours p.m. crash. For your brain, this is a 5-alarm emergency. Your steady fuel supply is suddenly, completely gone. Your brain panics. It believes it is starving to death. To save you, it triggers your adrenal glands to release a flood of stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline. This is a survival mechanism to force your liver to dump its own stored sugar into the blood. And what do cortisol and adrenaline feel like? Anxiety, irritability, a racing heart, jitters. You suddenly can't concentrate, not just because you're foggy, but because you are in a state of fight or flight. You feel hangry, desperate, and you crave more sugar or caffeine to stop the panic. You grab that healthy snack bar or another latte, and you get right back on the roller coaster, starting the whole cycle over again. This constant swing, this glycemic variability, is the source of your brain fog. Your brain is spending its entire day lurching between being on fire, the spike, and being in a state of starvation-induced panic, the crash. How can you possibly be expected to remember a name, focus on a complex task, or just feel normal when your brain is in a constant state of crisis? That roller coaster explains the daily hour-to-hour feeling of brain fog. But what happens when your body is on this ride for years, for a decade? This is where the problem gets deeper. It's no longer just about the swings in glucose. It's about a fundamental breakdown in your body's entire energy management system. This is insulin resistance. You've probably heard about insulin resistance in the context of your body. It's the root cause of belly fat, high blood pressure, and ultimately, type 2 diabetes. But what is not discussed enough is that this exact same process happens in your brain. Let me explain this using the analogy I use with all my patients. Think of insulin as a key. Think of your cells, your muscle cells, your liver cells, and your brain cells as rooms that need energy, glucose, to function. On the door of every room, there is a lock, an insulin receptor. In a healthy person, the system is beautiful. You eat, your blood glucose rises, and your pancreas releases just the right amount of insulin keys. The key slides into the lock, the door opens, and glucose calmly enters the cell to be used for energy. Your blood sugar goes back to normal. Everything is efficient. But what happens when you're on that glucose roller coaster all day, every day, for years? You are constantly flooding your body with sugar. Your pancreas is constantly shouting at your cells, releasing massive, massive amounts of insulin keys. Your cells, in an act of self-preservation to protect themselves from that toxic, inflammatory flood of glucose, do the only thing they can. They try to muffle the shouting. They gum up the lock. They literally pull their insulin receptors off the surface of the cell. The locks become sticky, numb, and resistant to the key. This is insulin resistance. Now, your pancreas has to shout even louder to be heard. It has to produce more and more insulin to try and force that sticky, resistant door open. This state of chronically high insulin is called hyperinsulinemia. Here's the silent, dangerous part. For years, even a decade, this system works. Your fasting blood sugar on a lab test might look totally normal because your body is successfully, but dangerously, compensating by producing 5, 10, or 20 times the normal amount of insulin to keep it in check. But here is the devastating consequence for your brain. Your brain cells also become insulin resistant. Those sticky locks are on your neurons too. Now, even if there is plenty of glucose fuel floating around in your bloodstream, that fuel cannot get into your brain cells. Your brain is, quite literally, starving in the midst of plenty. This is the deep, persistent brain fog. It's not just the inflammatory spike anymore, it's a chronic, low-power mode. Your neurons, especially in the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, are energy-starved. They can't fire signals properly. They can't form new connections, synapses. They can't efficiently form new memories or retrieve old ones. This is that feeling of slow thinking. This is the loading feeling in your head. It's your brain's check engine light, signaling a critical fuel failure. Studies using advanced PET scans show this in terrifying clarity. In people with midlife insulin resistance, researchers can see what's called hypometabolism in the brain, a dramatic, measurable reduction in glucose uptake. They see the brain starving, sometimes decades before any serious memory loss or dementia diagnosis. That 40-year-old woman in our title, this is exactly what is happening to her. She's eating, but her brain is starving. If the first problem is the roller coaster, and the second is the long-term energy starvation, this third part is the devastating long-term consequence. We've talked about the fog, inflammation, and the starvation, insulin resistance. Now we must talk about the fire and the permanent structural damage it leaves behind. This is where we must, as hard as it is, discuss the profound link between insulin resistance and Alzheimer's disease. There is a very good reason that, within the scientific and medical community, Alzheimer's disease is now commonly referred to as type 3 diabetes or diabetes of the brain. The evidence is overwhelming. The connection is so strong that many scientists, including myself, no longer see them as two separate diseases. We see them as a continuum of the same metabolic dysfunction, just manifesting in a different organ. Here is what is happening. Remember that state of hyperinsulinemia, that constant flooding tide of excess insulin your body is producing to fight the sticky locks? Well, that ocean of insulin causes two catastrophic problems in the brain, which directly lead to the two hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease: amyloid plaques and tau tangles. Let's start with the plaques. One, the trash clearance problem, amyloid beta. You've all heard of the amyloid beta plaques found in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. These are sticky, toxic proteins that, when they build up, clog the spaces between your neurons, short-circuiting their connections and eventually killing them. In a healthy brain, we produce this plaque all the time, but we also clear it out every single day. We have a garbage disposal enzyme that cleans up this toxic plaque. That enzyme is called the insulin-degrading enzyme, IDE. As its name implies, IDE has two jobs. Its primary high-priority job is to clear out used insulin from the bloodstream after it's done its work. Its secondary job is to act as the brain's garbage disposal and clear out that toxic amyloid beta. Now, do you see the crisis? In a state of insulin resistance, you are producing so much excess insulin that the insulin-degrading enzyme is completely 100% overwhelmed. It has to spend all of its time and all of its resources just clearing away the ocean of insulin. It has no bandwidth left to do its other critical job, cleaning the brain. The result is the garbage starts to pile up. Day after day, year after year, that sticky, toxic amyloid plaque accumulates. It's not that your brain is making more of it. It's that your brain has lost the ability to clear it out because your metabolic system is broken. 2. The collapsed scaffolding. Problem: tau tangles. That's the outside of the neuron. Now let's look at the inside. High glucose and high insulin also trigger another devastating process. Inside your neurons, you have a protein called tau. Tau's job is to act like the internal scaffolding or railroad tracks that give the neuron its shape and allow nutrients to be transported from one end to the other. But in this state of high insulin and high inflammation, tau becomes hyperphosphorylated. This, in simple terms, means the scaffolding breaks. The railroad tracks buckle and tangle. These are the neurofibrillary tangles, the other great hallmark of Alzheimer's. Once the internal scaffolding collapses, the neuron can no longer transport nutrients. It can't function, it starves from the inside out and dies. Let's put this all together. Your high-carb processed diet is causing blood sugar spikes, which starts the inflammatory fire, the fog. Your cells protect themselves by becoming insulin resistant, which starves your brain cells of energy, the chronic low-power mode. Your body compensates by producing a flood of excess insulin. This excess insulin clogs up the brain's garbage disposal, IDE, allowing toxic amyloid plaques to build up. At the same time, this toxic environment causes the internal scaffolding, tau, of your neurons to collapse, killing them from within. That brain fog you're feeling in your 40s, that senior moment you're joking about, it is not a joke. It is not normal. It is the inflammation. It is the energy starvation. It is the very first and most obvious symptom of a brain in metabolic crisis. It is the warning sign, flashing red, that this destructive process has already begun. Okay? I know that was a lot of very concerning, very frightening information. I do not share this with you to scare you. I share it to empower you, because the single most beautiful, most hopeful part of this entire story is that in the vast majority of cases, this is reversible. You are not doomed to this fate. That brain fog can lift. You can put out the fire. You can resensitize your sticky locks to insulin. You can turn your brain's garbage disposal system back on. This is not about a magic pill or a complicated medical procedure. This is about changing the inputs and signals you send to your body every single day. You must stop doing the things that are causing the fire and start doing the things that allow your body to heal. This is the 4-step action plan I give to all my patients. Step 1. Get off the glucose roller coaster. You must stop the spikes and crashes. Your number one goal is no longer low fat or low calorie. Your number one goal is metabolic stability. This means you must build every single one of your meals around 3 things: protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Protein, think fish, chicken, eggs, beef, tofu, tempeh, is the most satiating macronutrient. It has a minimal effect on your blood sugar. Fiber, think non-starchy vegetables like broccoli, spinach, and cauliflower, also avocados, nuts, and seeds, slows down the absorption of any carbohydrates you do eat. Fiber is the brake on the sugar spike. Healthy fats, olive oil, avocados, nuts, fatty fish, are also highly satiating, have zero impact on insulin, and are critical for your brain health. Your brain is 60% fat, after all. I want you to stop drinking your sugar. No sodas, no fruit juices, no sugary lattes. And I want you to rethink your breakfast. Is it a bowl of sugar? Cereal, instant oats, toast and jam, a fruit-only smoothie? You are starting your day by lighting that fire in your brain. Start your day with protein and fat. Think eggs with avocado and spinach. Think a high-quality protein shake with chia seeds. Think plain Greek yogurt with berries and nuts. This one change will transform your energy and focus for the entire day. Step 2. Resensitize your locks with movement. How do you make those sticky locks work again? You use your muscles. Your muscles are a massive sink for glucose. They are the biggest room in your body that can take glucose out of the blood. And here is the magic. When you use your muscles, they can absorb glucose without needing insulin at all. It's a biological backdoor that opens up. The 2 most powerful things you can do are go for a 10-15-minute walk after your meals. This postprandial walk uses the glucose you just ate to fuel your movement. It blunts the sugar spike before it ever happens. Do resistance training. You must build and maintain muscle, lifting weights, body weight exercises, resistance bands. Building muscle is like building more of these glucose sinks. More muscle, more places for glucose to go. Less insulin needed. This is how you reverse insulin resistance. Step 3. Put out the fire. Prioritize sleep. You can have a perfect diet, but if you are not sleeping, you will not fix this. Why? Because just one single night of poor sleep, less than 7 hours, has been shown in clinical studies to make your cells as insulin-resistant as a person with type 2 diabetes. Poor sleep acutely raises your stress hormone, cortisol. Cortisol's job is to tell your liver to dump sugar into your bloodstream. So you start your day with high blood sugar even before you've eaten. Furthermore, it is during your deep, slow-wave sleep that your brain's glymphatic system, its garbage clearance crew, is most active. This is when that IDE enzyme is finally free to go to work, cleaning out the amyloid plaques. If you cut your sleep short, you are cancelling your brain's nightly housekeeping. You must prioritize 7 to 9 hours of dark, cool, quiet sleep. It is non-negotiable for brain health. Step 4. Stop guessing. Start testing. You need to make the invisible visible. Stop guessing what's healthy and start knowing what's healthy for you. I strongly encourage my patients to get a continuous glucose monitor, CGM, even for just 2 to 4 weeks. It's a small patch you wear that shows you, in real time on your phone, exactly what that bowl of healthy oatmeal, or that apple, or that stressful meeting is doing to your blood sugar. It is the single most powerful biofeedback tool we have. If you can't get a CGM, get a simple blood glucose meter from the pharmacy. Test your fasting blood sugar in the morning. It should ideally be below 90 mg DL or 5.0 mmol, and test 1-2 hours after a meal. It should ideally be below 120 mg DL or 6.7 mol. And the next time you see your doctor, do not just ask for a fasting glucose test. You must ask for a fasting insulin test and an HbA1c. That fasting insulin level is the true early warning sign. If it's high, I like to see it under 8 μU/mL, you are insulin resistant even if your glucose looks normal.
So let's bring this all home. That brain fog you've been blaming on getting older or being stressed is not a normal part of aging. It is a critical distress signal. It is the check engine light for your body's metabolism. It's the immediate effect of a glucose roller coaster. And it is the earliest, most obvious warning sign of chronic brain cell starvation and inflammation. The key takeaway I want you to leave with is this: your brain health is directly and powerfully controlled by your metabolic health. And type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, is now understood to be largely a preventable disease, driven by the very same insulin resistance that is causing your brain fog today. You have the power to fix this. And if you found this video helpful, if it made you rethink your health, please share it with someone you care about, a friend, a family member, a coworker who is struggling with that same fog. When you could, you might just change their life. And please, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. I release new, in-depth videos every single week to give you the science and the strategies to help you take back control of your health. Now, I want to hear from you. What was your single biggest aha moment from this video? What is your biggest struggle when it comes to brain fog or blood sugar? Leave your questions and your stories in the comments below. I will do my best to answer as many as I can. Thank you so much for watching. Be well.